Hi, my name is Nicole, and today Allison and I will be presenting the topics What About Us and Evolution Redux. I will be presenting the first half of the presentation, while Allison does the second half. So, let's get started. Where the species of humans have come from has long been debated. In The Descent of Man, Darwin states our species had originated in Africa because our closest relatives, gorillas and chimpanzees, are both found there. The missing link between apes and humans was found in 1924 by Raymond Dart, who was given a box of bone fragments. Putting the pieces together, he found the first specimen of the transition from apes to humans, and he called it Australopithecus africanus, also known as Southern Ape Man. Now, I'll be talking about our descent from apes through evidence of bones that were found and placed in a chronological order, providing evidence of the evolution of humans from apes. Molecular data shows that we are most closely related to chimpanzees, and that we diverged 7 million years ago from our common ancestor. The missing link between apes and humans, that is represented by a single particular species, can't be found because our early ancestors lived in dry conditions where fossilization can't occur. The earliest human ancestor might be the Sahelanthropus tudensis, which is dated to be 6 to 7 million years old, right at the time molecular evidence says our lineage diverged from chimps. Like apes, it had a long cranium with a small chimp-sized brain, but like later hominins, it has a flat face, small teeth, and brow ridges. Such intermediate features between that of apes and humans is evidence of our speciation from apes. In 1974, the famous hominin was found, named Lucy, which was an Australopithecus afarensis, 3.2 million years old, which walked on 2 legs. She had arms longer than humans but shorter than apes, and curved finger bones that suggest afarensis might have spent time in trees. Her ape-like head but human-like legs suggest that upright posture evolved prior to the evolution of a larger brain. The transition of naming later fossils from Australopithecus to Homo is due to the increase in brain size. The next transition towards modern humans was the formation of more flexible thumbs and an erect posture that freed the hands, which is seen in Homo habilis. These changes allowed for using elaborate tools. It shows changes that are more similar to humans, including a larger brain and enlarged areas that correspond to speech production and language, possibly indicating that habilis was the first species with spoken language. It may have lived alongside Homo ergaster, Homo rudolfensis, and Homo erectus. Homo erectus was the first hominin to disperse from Africa, with the brain size almost equal to that of modern humans. They were the first species to use fire. The next transition to humans is seen in Homo heidelbergensis, a descendant of Homo erectus, and later Homo neanderthalensis, who were the first to bury their dead. The rise of modern humans, Homo sapiens, is due to either Homo erectus and neanderthalensis evolving into Homo sapiens independently in several areas, perhaps because natural selection was acting in the same way all over Asia, Europe, and Africa, or because Homo sapiens originated in Africa and spread, replacing the other 2 hominins by competing for food or killing them. Now we'll go over what could have caused the evolution of humans. 10 to 3 million years ago, there was a drought in East and Central Africa. This created savannas and open forests, the reason for the first hominin trait to evolve, bipedality, which allowed for traveling between forests efficiently. As for a larger brain, this might be due to the increased ability to create complex tools due to bipedalism, allowing the hands to be freed, and selection acting on those with larger brains that can create and envision complex tools. To find out how different or similar we are to apes, Molecular markers such as protein sequences are useful in detecting genetic differentiation. Protein sequences have shown a 1% difference between humans and chimps, which actually is a large difference. We differ in the sequence and presence of genes. Some genes in humans don't exist in chimps. This shows that even though chimps and humans resemble each other, the evolution of humans from an ape-like ancestor required a lot of genetic changes.
The definition of race. Throughout history, racial classification has unfortunately been paired with racial prejudice. This has made some biologists react drastically. They state that race is a construct that has no biological significance or reality. However, race is acceptable when describing animals other than humans. A race is a subspecies or ecotype. What is the definition of race, then? Races are simply populations of a species that are both geographically separated and differ genetically in one or more traits. By this definition, do Homo sapiens have races? The answer is yes, and this shows that humans evolved in a similar fashion as other species. Humans were geographically separated, and so they diverged genetically, as any species would. It is impossible to divide the human population into clear, different groups based on race and geography. Coyne says that 10 to 15% of genetic variation in Homo sapiens is different between races. 80 to 95% of differences occur within races. Despite this, race is not only a construct. Certain genetic diseases, such as sickle cell anemia and Tay-Sachs disease, are present in high levels in certain races. On the right, you can see a red blood cell affected with sickle cell anemia and a regular red blood cell. Those with sickle cell anemia have abnormally shaped red blood cells that can cause health problems. Sexual selection as a driving force. Some biologists believe that variation in physical features among races is due to sexual selection. Culture can affect sexual selection. This is called gene-culture evolution. Sexual selection can occur quickly. This is why it may be the driving force behind many of the physical differences humans have. On the right, you can see a peacock. The peacock's elaborate, oversized tail is a result of sexual selection. There are differences between populations within ethnic groups, not so much within the entire human population. This provides evidence for the idea that humans are still evolving. An example of this is whether or not lactose can be digested. Populations that use cows can digest lactose, while populations that don't use cows have no need for the enzyme, called lactase. The mutation for digesting lactose arose due to a pastoralist lifestyle. The question is, are we still evolving? On one hand, many factors that once drove our evolution have diminished entirely. According to Coyne, improvements in nutrition, sanitation, and medical care have done away with many diseases and conditions that killed our ancestors and removed previously potent sources of natural selection. On another hand, traits that once helped us are now hindering us, like our taste for sweets and fats. It can be predicted that health problems resulting from obesity may cause de-evolution. That is, if death due to obesity occurs before reproduction. We may still evolve to combat diseases that are already prevalent. The AIDS virus can be rendered ineffective if the host carries a certain gene, suggesting that we are still evolving. AIDS is a newer virus. Therefore, there is no reason to believe that we are the end product of evolution. Why would we be? On the right, you can see art from the Cave of Forgotten Dreams. This is a product of evolution. Who is to say that we will not continue to evolve in a similar way? Let's talk more evidence. Number 1, wisdom teeth. In the past, our ancestors needed wisdom teeth in order to process foods. Now, however, wisdom teeth cause more harm than good. Wisdom teeth are often extracted. Tooth loss due to periodontal disease, dental caries, trauma, or a variety of genetic disorders continues to affect people's lives. Wisdom teeth causes problems. It is possible that we may lose them entirely over time. On the right, you can see an X-ray of a person's entire mouth. Wisdom teeth present problems when they erupt incorrectly or don't erupt at all. In this image, you can see the wisdom teeth, especially on the bottom jaw, the one has not erupted. Because it is laying sideways, it will cause problems for the teeth alongside it. Number 2, brain size. The fossil record shows a trend of our brains decreasing in size. Brain size did not necessarily correlate with intelligence, thankfully. Brain size depends on several factors. Attempts to explain brain size variation in different taxa must consider the ability to sustain the energy costs alongside cognitive benefits. Our brains are likely still evolving in order to maximize efficiency. On the right, you can see an MRI of the human brain. The brain continues to evolve. Let's talk even more evidence. Number 3, the threat of disease. Human populations must retain diversity if new, dangerous diseases are to be fought. While medicine has made many great advances, it is not a cure-all. As mentioned previously, a gene has evolved to combat AIDS in some individuals. Strong evidence for continuing evolution. On the right, you can see a tiny virus. We evolve along viruses in an evolutionary arms race. If we don't continue to evolve, we will lose that race, and we can't afford to lose. Number 4, environmental impacts. We are impacted by our environment. Radiation and chemicals do have an effect, and so it is not inaccurate to think that they will have some effect on our evolution. For example, exposure to PCBs in China have been documented. These PCBs, a chemical, have a health impact, and it is possible that evolution could reflect this impact. On the right, you can see where all the PCBs were found in humans. Evolution may be affected by chemicals and radiation and their effects on the human genome. Are we the end result of evolution? Of course not. Evolution is not a process that seeks an end result. Evolution is a process that is ongoing. Although some of the circumstances that affected our ancestors no longer apply to us, some new circumstances do. Take technology and the abundance of food in modern society. These massive changes will definitely affect Homo sapiens. In conclusion, we are still evolving.
Now we will look at how people view evolution. People see that evolution is convincing. However, they are not convinced. They see fossils in natural history museums, which are evidence that evolution has occurred. They see how bacteria and viruses evolve resistance to drugs, which is evolution occurring at the moment. If the bacteria have a mutation in the DNA which codes for one of the proteins that the antibiotic binds, the antibiotic cannot bind to the altered protein, and the mutant bacteria survive. In the presence of antibiotics, the process of natural selection will occur, favoring the survival and reproduction of the mutant bacteria. Despite all the evidence, they are still not convinced. We can predict where fossils will be found and when common ancestors would appear. we do not find humans in the same layers as dinosaurs. Despite all this, humans still cannot be convinced that evolution has occurred. People worry that naturalism and materialism, which are part of science, bring forth perceived evils. However, evolution is simply a theory about the process and patterns of life's diversification, not a grand philosophical scheme about the meaning of life.
But if we are only animals who have evolved over time, is there anything to prevent us from behaving like beasts? Darwin never says anything about morality being thrown out the window due to evolution. Genes act as if they're selfish. They aren't really. For example, there's still cooperation in morality. Unfortunately, there is a concerning trend of people Darwinizing human behaviors, which aren't necessarily a result of evolution. Sexual selection, however, has influenced us. But most of what is speculated is just that, speculated. It is difficult to say what is due to evolution and what is not. Coin states, genes aren't destiny. And so I will leave you with a final quote from Coin. We should be proud that we are the only species that has figured out how we came to be.